we're gonna go ahead and jump in and get started. I have an agenda for us. So the first thing is just want to ask how's it going?
Good. It's like challenging, but in a good way. That's how I tell people.
Tell me more.
I would say like last year, my challenges were like not things I could control, and like they felt like insurmountable. Like these challenges, like I don't feel like they're something I can't overcome, and I also feel like if I literally can't do something, I could get resources and help, and so it's challenging, but not in a bad way.
Okay. Are you happier in St. Louis?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Much happier.
I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to check in with you since you like moved back and like moved into a new apartment and everything, but you seem happy.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very happy.
Please let me know if there's ever anything I can do.
I will.
The other thing I want to check with you about is Kit Black. So the two things that you said you would lead were like incredibly popular. How are you feeling about managing that too?
So yoga yesterday, most kids did not realize that yoga involves being barefoot. And so I would say there was like probably 80% of the kids really were into it and really were taking it seriously. There was several kids who did not feel the same way, and so it was kind of like hard for other kids to like concentrate and relax when kids are like shouting out. And
so who are the kids who are not so into it? Because here's what I recommend as the next step.
okay.
I'm going to give you a post-it, write down their names, and I want you to conference with them at lunch and say, is this something you want to stay in or not?
Okay.
Because I can change their Kit Black.
Perfect.
So write down the names of the kiddos.
I know one off the top of my head, the other ones I need to check the roster. But yeah, Mina was not feeling it.
So you want it to be a time that kids enjoy and that's easy for you. So make a note of their names and talk to them at lunch today. And then if you let me know which kids are like, no way, then at the end of lunch I can change their schedule. I can do it literally right after lunch.
I'll need to look up names and double check, but I will do that for
I
sure.
can change it by the end of the day and bring them new schedules and everything. Awesome. And then art club, so many kids signed up for it. And so here's what I'm thinking. We can now use the science lab because since Sierra's not going to be doing Science Olympiad, and so the kids' schedules say your classroom, I think, right now, and so they'll all come there today, but you can walk them over and say, like, moving forward, we're going to meet here.
Perfect.
I don't want to, like, try to announce to kids that it's changed or anything like that. I think it's easier just for today if you just meet there and then walk over. And then I'm going to look into getting another staff member to support you.
Awesome.
Not sure who it's going to be, but I'm going to find someone else. Just because it's a big group, so many kids wanted to do it, that we might want to consider, like, in second semester, like, doing all the days of art club, and maybe somebody else takes it on with you, and so you can still do yoga if you want. Just really communicate what makes you happy, because you're doing a lot right now.
Yeah, I would love to just be the art teacher, like someday, because I love
Careful what you wish
art.
for.
I know. That would be my dream job, is teaching art, but
That's good for me to know.
yeah, I would love that. That would just be amazing. So
Because especially when our kids get a little older, like we're only going to need some sections of ELA, we'll need like 1 or 2, but then we'll need some sections of art. So that's good. That might be the perfect. The teacher at my last school did that. She did 2 sections of AP language and 3 sections of art.
my very favorite teacher of all time was English teacher and art teacher.
Huh.
It was awesome. So
That's something to keep in mind, but just communicate what's making you happy, what you need for today, for art, Kit Black, have the kiddos meet you in your room, you can walk them over, and that's where you guys can meet. I'm going to write a note to myself to give Will Height a heads up, Will Height, art and lab. Makes sense with the sinks and stuff like that too.
yes, and also just like storage and
Storage and space, because we can, if we need to get drying racks or things like that, we can put them in that little space in between the lab, or honestly, you can just put them in the physics lab, it's empty.
perfect. And then the physics lab is right by
So
bio.
it's the one right next, across the hallway there.
Okay.
So like your bio's on the left and the physics lab is on the right, and that room is empty. It's just tables in there, so you can lay stuff out in there.
Perfect.
Great.
I was trying to figure out the logistics of all that.
No, I wouldn't have worked in your classroom. It kind of worked out perfectly that the lab was available and the sinks and the space next door, so we'll do that.
Perfect.
Anything else?
For Kit Black, I wouldn't say anything too crazy.
Okay.
The feet, though, it was smelly in the dance room, and so maybe with less students, if some students.
Yeah,
don't
talk
wanna
to the
do
ones who aren't into it, because we want them to have a happy Kit Black, so
Yes.
just let me know.
I will. Perfect.
Let's see. Grades, your grade book looks up to date. Thank you for always taking care of everything. You're not ever someone who I ever have to follow up with about anything. And when I have 1,000 things on my list, I so appreciate that more than you know, so thank you.
No problem.
Lesson planning, how's it going?
good. It's time consuming, but I feel like I'm getting better at it, and I feel like I'm getting more into the rhythm of it. So this next batch should be the best batch so far.
My first year at KIPP, lesson planning took me quadruple the amount of time it took by my second year at KIPP.
That is awesome.
My lesson planning got cut in like, you know, it took me a fourth of the time my second year, and I would say like at least half the time my second semester.
Perfect.
Also, the week at Thanksgiving is such a, like, I didn't have that my first years of TFA, and when I came to KIPP that week at Thanksgiving, it's like, oh,
That's good.
gives your brain a break. You can like work for one afternoon and then be done for a week off, and then feel caught up the rest of the year. At least that's how I felt.
Awesome.
All right, and then the other thing with lesson plans is that's kind of something we're going to go in today in your coaching session. But you know, you were sharing some things about, like, for example, pronoun antecedent, how it's like too beefy for one lesson. Trust your judgment, because we want to have smart aims that, like, if it's causing the introduction material to be 30 minutes long, then like you have the autonomy to chunk that into 2 lessons. So even though you have like this blueprint, if it is something that like you know the kids better, that you know they need to do in 2 lessons, or in some cases 3, then do that.
Okay.
You're not married to like on this day you have to do all 3 of these, on this day you have to do all 2 of these. Use your judgment.
And so with that, is the exam date flexible?
As long as it's within quarter 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. That allows a little bit more wiggle room for some things, because I didn't have the Munchin grammar handbook.
Mushin, yeah.
Mushin. So I feel like I totally taught commonly confused words wrong. And so I finally got it, and I was looking through it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this would have made so much more sense. So I would love to reteach that.
So Mushin is a high school in Chicago, and it's part of Noble, and Noble schools are named based off of donors. So the Mushin family gave a lot of money, so they have a school named off, and that's why it's called Mushin. Okay, so with the lesson planning though, like, use your judgment to chunk it. Here's a coaching binder for you. You're gonna be able to keep everything in it for the year, so like your agendas, your coaching notes and stuff like that. But I wanna dive into a first coaching session. Okay. All right, please excuse me for 1 second while I pull up my notes, because if I try to do things from memory, I used to have like one of those crazy, like, you know, photographic memories and remember all the things, and then I just had too many things in my brain. Mary, that's you. The first thing I want to talk about is the strength you're having. So I know that during the summer you're working on strong voice. You have consistently, without fail, had a strong voice.
Yeah.
So what is like caused this change, and what has been the impact of always having a strong voice?
I think like a lot of practice change, and then also just like confidence, and like I am an adult. I think that's something that, as like a younger teacher, I like struggled with it at first, but I feel like practice really helped that.
You are clearly the adult leader in the classroom, very clearly. So what has, besides that impact, what have been some other impacts of having a strong voice in the classroom?
I think it definitely gets students' attention better. It definitely communicates like, okay, now we're gonna do this, now we're gonna do that, and kids can hear me.
You never have to repeat yourself, ever, never. Just like your confidence and presence in the classroom are really strong, and I want to shout you out for that, because that's something that you are working on. So today, something that I want to work on with you is improving the ratio of student thinking in your class. This is an exciting thing to work on with you, because usually with like first or second year teachers, we work on management. So first what we're going to do is we're going to look at, this is an excerpt from, so Dave Levin, the co-founder of KIPP, has this blog, and he wrote an entry a couple years ago about improving the ratio in classrooms. And so what I want you to do is, what did you notice, kind of think about the question you're reading through, what's effective about the ratios noted here. There's a spot right here for you to take notes. So what do you notice that's effective about the ratios?
There's a lot of independent practice.
Okay.
Mhm.
What else do you notice?
The transitions and like housekeeping stuff takes 4 minutes or less. All of the areas that describe a time limit, I was going with the 50-minute because we're at 51 minutes right now.
Frequently, yeah.
Everything is less than a certain amount except for independent practice where you can expand on. And it follows our guided practice lesson plan almost perfectly.
Awesome. So we kind of talked about it already, like when we were talking through the lesson planning, but this SMART objective, want to zoom in on that, what do you think that means?
Specific, measurable.
We do an invite. Yeah. So if you're running into something where you feel like you cannot accomplish it in the 12 minutes, what should you do?
Stop and then have kids maybe do the practice that is aligned to like the first part of the lesson then.
Right, if you're in execution and that's happening, that's the great move to do. But in the planning phase, if you realize this is going to take me longer than 12 minutes, what should you do?
Chunk it and then add an extra day for.
Right, chunk it and like maybe split the objective into two or revise the objective. So what is the gap between this and your plans last week? I know you made some changes for this week, so let's think about last week.
I definitely have way too much material in way too little time. Like the concepts that we were covering, it was just like too many concepts for us to like get through, and so our notes ended up taking like intro to new material. I would say was like probably at more than 55% of the class instead of less than 25%.
Great. Again, like you're explaining things clearly and concisely. It's just a bit too much sometimes. And so this is your action step the next week. We're gonna write that right here. So the what is increase the ratio of student thinking in lesson plans. Increase the ratio of student thinking in lesson plans. So we're gonna talk about the two ways how you're gonna do that. Alright, so the first way how you're gonna do that is adjust timestamps.
And is that on the timeline or just below here?
I usually do it, again, I mean, they're your notes, you can do it however you want, but I usually do like the what at the top and the how under that. Actually, how I wrote it right here. See how I have the what and the how underneath it?
Adjust timestamps. I would say that is my biggest struggle lesson planning is time.
You're trying to fit a lot in a short amount of time. So I adjust timestamps, particularly opening routine, 7.5 minutes. There's two areas where I think you can gain a lot of time. Opening routine, 7.5 minutes, and INM, introduction to new material, is 12 minutes or less. And the second way how you're going to do this is to use SMART objectives. So if it can't fit in 12 minutes, revise it or chunk it.
Okay, perfect.
Can you read back that? What's your action step and how are you going to do it?
So action step is increase ratio of student thinking and lesson plans. How we're going to do it is adjust the timestamps for our opening routine, 7.5 minutes or less, and then enter new material will be 12 minutes or less. And then the second way we're going to accomplish it is with SMART objectives, and if we can't accomplish something in a given time, we'll chunk it and revise the objective.
Perfect. Awesome. I love how you said we because it makes me think of you and the students together and you and I together because I'm hearing questions like that. If you're like, I'm not sure if this is doable, you can always text me. Email, I get sometimes behind them. You can text me, call me anytime you want. So let's put this in action. Let's look at some lessons for next week. So in particular, it looks like lesson 16 and 17 I was looking at. Let's start with lesson 16. And let's make sure your opening routine can be done in 7.5 minutes or less, otherwise we need to cut the do now. And let's look at your I&M and make sure everything can be explained in 12 minutes or less. So lesson 16, I'm going to pull it up also. So the do now includes like collecting the homework and going over it and everything.
Right. which that will most likely take more than 7.5 minutes because there's 8 questions.
Actually, though, the kids have to do 75 questions in 45 minutes. So this 8 questions, they should have to do that in 4.
Okay. So that might be doable, especially if I use those plickers as a way to check them.
Mm-hmm.
But then
This is also something like for this, Mary, like I'm not sure, I didn't look at your plan yet, but you can just reveal the answers to this.
Okay, like just like on the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Once we get your like student ratio improved on this action step this week, we can talk about how you can quickly do a lap and collect some data to determine which ones you need to review. But for this day, I would just say you can do this in 4 minutes. Should complete this in 4 minutes for sure, because again, 75 questions, 45 minutes is real life on the ACT, and then just reveal the answers for this. So the opening routine looks like it'll be good here. Let's look at the introduction to new material.
That song is going to take way too long.
Where you, the song is where?
It is slide 3 under notes. That section of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how can we cut that?
We can.
And we need to cut the whole thing. So let's think about like what are the most important parts of that in order for students to be able to use the key points to practice.
I think if we play it just twice maybe, and then just sing it as a class together, and like don't worry about like the competition aspect, or even just playing it once.
Playing it once. Do they have the lyrics when they're doing this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their lyrics are in the notes. So we could play it once with the lyrics. And I know in the video, it's like they repeat the song. So like the first 30 seconds they sing it, and then the second 30 seconds it's a repetition of it. So we could just play it once and be like, the first time we're gonna hear it as we're playing the music.
Where is
video.
it? Right here? Oh,
Yes.
this. Copy. Okay. So say again how you're gonna revise it?
So instead of having like the song repeated, like the video played multiple times, we'll just play the video once because the song repeats itself. And it's only a minute-long song.
Great. So go ahead and take a minute to revise your plan right there. It's gonna take out at least 3 minutes, if not 4.
Yes.
What's up, Brianna?
Is the nurse here today?
Did your teacher give you a pass to the nurse?
He said I can go down. He just gave me this.
Who is your teacher?
Mr.
Diamond. Go check in with Miss Pendleton in the office. And hey, Brianna, ask Miss Pendleton for some nurse passes and bring them back to Mr. Diamond, please.
Okay.
I feel like we just talked about this, but it's okay. All right, so let me check and see what you got. So they're now slide 3. paper, we're just going to listen and read the lyrics. The second half of the video, we're going to attempt to single and memorize the words. I'll be giving merits. Great. Okay. So, side 1, what is the antecedent? Side 2, indefinite pronoun. Side 3. Side 4, side 5. This is way less information than last week. Yep, so you're going to have to revise your PowerPoint. I just realized too.
Oh,
Pull that up real quick.
Thank you so much. And I think also why this lesson was a lot easier to write is indefinite pronouns is so specific, whereas in a lot of the other lessons I was covering so many like various aspects of things.
I like your mean with everybody. Oh gosh.
I even tried today, I was like, okay, I'm handing out the homework. Here it is in the corner of the board. Write it down now. Nobody has their agendas.
Crazy.
We
Well,
need to get
you can
agendas
start
in
doing the
class.
merits or something like that for
Yes.
bringing it, or like doing it for a quick like entrance quiz. Are you a planner? Great, hold them up. All of you got 2 points for a quiz grade for having your planner. That's a quick thing you can do. All right, so for this intro to new material, we have it narrowed down to 6 slides. In general, it takes you on average like 2 minutes per slide, and sometimes when you're going to do an activity, it takes you 4. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the number of slides you have. Great, let's go ahead and take a look at this. We're also doing lesson feedback on this, right?
Yes.
All right, so let's look at lesson 17, which is Tuesday. So let's look at the opening routine and see if it can be done in 7.5 minutes or less, doing it and reviewing it, and let's look at the I&M after that.
I do know I'm definitely going to want to cut down.
Okay, go ahead and take a minute to do that.
I'm just going to use practice that we did not get to from this week.
Great, that'll take them definitely like 4 minutes, 30 seconds per question. Perfect. In general, like the more you can get like the time that it takes students to complete it to 4 minutes, it's going to leave you the 3 minutes to review it. In some cases, it'll go even faster. All right, so now let's look at your introduction to new material and think about, is this something that can be accomplished in 12 minutes or less? I would say yes. best for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, since we have a little more time, let's go ahead and look at the next day.
It was so sad when I was done with these plans because it was so fun to do them like so much better and have them be so much easier than my past ones.
What do you mean?
Like when I was done planning
Uh-huh.
Labor Day weekend with like this group of them, I was like sad. I was like, I want to keep going because
Oh,
I feel like I'm getting into the swing of it.
you are. You're a strong planner. It's fun to be able to work on something like ratio instead of like, this is what should actually go in this part of
Yes.
the plan.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, let's have students think more. That's a fun thing to work on.
Absolutely.
This one looks like it might take a little bit longer.
Yeah. I agree. In which section? The morning routine and the.
Am I looking at the right one? The free right one?
Oh, yes. Yep. That is going to take longer. I was looking at the plan and not the do now. Yep. We should definitely cut at least one, if not two. And then maybe reduce the number.
Because the objective for this lesson is students will explain that subjects may be inverted or occur after the verb in a sentence. Revise the sentence to ensure subject verb agreement when the subject is inverted. So what's the best example of summer born grade? I like the one you cut. I think you left it to the right too is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I think 1 and 2. Some are born grades and achieve grades and others have greatness thrust upon them. Number 1 is a more clear example, I think, of what you're doing this day.
Mm-hmm.
What was the third one again? No, I can't remember.
Hang on, let me just.
Undo it. I always think of Yoda when
They get to watch a quick video of Yoda.
yeah. My family always jokes that I talk like that. Expectation.
This is not one. Expectation is the root of all heartache.
Yeah, I would take that off. 1 is the most clear example.
Okay. I'll just make it 1.
Yeah.
And I'll just say thoughtfully, or just consider it and apply it to your own life.
You could also, like, Kaylin, honey, 1 second. You can also, like, have them do the same thing they did before, like, underline the subject or something like that. And then, 1 second, Kaylin. Wait, what do you got here, babe? You can underline the subject and then have them write about it. Because it's just, like, a quick way to be like, oh, yeah, look, there's a subject here. But then it's also a segue into what you're doing. What's up, Kaylin?
How come I got the same kill block for both days?
Okay, talk to me at lunch. Melvin.
Hi.
Guys, I'm clearly in a meeting. I love you both.
What have to do about it?
Usually my door is shut, but it would melt. I'm sorry for the
No, you're totally
interruptions.
fine.
Great.
Because I know these are implied subjects and I don't want them to get a million.
Here's what I would do for directions. This might help you get better responses. 1, underline the verbs in quote in this quote.
Oh,
2, respond, applying to your. Yep. So they see like, oh, here's the directions. I need to do these 2 things.
perfect.
That make sense?
Yes.
Okay, this is gonna take 7 minutes, and this is a kind of a fun one where like you can do like a quick little review of like the verbs, and then you can also have them turn and talk about it, because kids are gonna have feelings about this. It's an engaging one, and then you can. It's a great segue into the Yoda and Shakespeare, and like look, he put the no one at the end, and this is a quote kids have heard before, but some of them will have heard before. Great. All right, now let's look at your intro to new material. Is it accomplishable? I don't know if there's a word. Can it be accomplished in 12 minutes or less?
I think so.
Let's look at your slide. So you have 1,
It'll be cut.
1. Great.
Well, there is a little bit more because we review the sentence parts, it looks like. I think. No, that's the only notes are on one slide.
Great. Okay. All right, let's go through the last lesson because we still, let's see, what time is the bell ring? 10:12. Let's go through this last lesson because we have time, and then also then you won't have any lesson plan feedback this week if we get through it. So I think that's lesson, yeah. The thing you did with the apostrophes and the signs was so funny. I sent it to Kathy.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's also just drives me crazy. I see it all the time. So many apostrophes.
It drives me crazy too.
Yeah. So opening routine, can it be accomplished? 7 minutes or less.
I would say
20. This is a longer day, so on the longer day, it's actually okay if it takes a little bit longer.
okay.
These 20 things, I think they can do in 10 minutes, and you can review it. This can be one of those days also where you post the answers, and so I think if you like have them do it in 10, honestly, I think they can do this in 8 minutes. You have them do this for 8 minutes, and then reveal the answers, you're good to go. Just make sure, I don't know if you how much time you put in here, but I would adjust this timer on Slack to be 8 minutes. I don't think they need 9.5. Let's see, intro to new material. This is a block day, so it's okay if it's a little bit longer. Apostrophophobia. Oh, this is what I saw before, and you had to shift it. Okay, this is the plan that I really like. You can, I mean, one thing that I was thinking for this day, it's crazy when I think about these things over the weekend. This is perfect. Why is the sign incorrect? What should the sign say? This is so great. This is super high engagement. I love it.
Awesome.
And just like give them extra credit for like texting you a picture. Texting or bringing in a picture.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, also, this is the other thing I was thinking about, and I wanted to talk to you about it because the longer days remind me with typing. I'm wondering if typing should be like a kit block thing to where they can get like 2 solid weeks or something of like practice, or like a quarter of like practice, like for a grade.
Because they still need more typing.
Yes, and I worry that like only on Thursdays and Fridays, like it's not that consistent muscle memory skill.
We can also start, yeah.
I really wish we wouldn't have started typing without the covers. I didn't realize how important those covers were.
We can start building in more days, because one of the things, like I'm looking at your lesson, Mary, like this stuff with apostrophes is great, and the rule here, doing who's and who's on this day, I think is too much.
Okay.
And there.
Yeah.
I would cut this and move it to the next day.
Okay.
Especially, are they doing typing this day too?
I think so, yeah.
No, yeah, I would cut the there and the who and who's and move it to Monday.
Okay.
Because this is not accomplishable in, like, even in, if you look at this ratio thing, sorry, I buried it. But the ratio thing, even for a 90-minute class, the intro to new material should be 22 minutes, and this is gonna take longer than 22 minutes.
Throw in a comment. That way I can.
And then you can shift these lessons down here for the 17, 18, 19.
Because I've been wanting to add an extra week to the unit.
Yeah, the there and there is something we know our adult friends mess up, and the who's and who's, they mess up too. So move that to another day, just keep this day just apostrophes. Perfect, no lesson plan feedback. Obviously the only thing you need to do by Friday is to move that to Monday.
Perfect.
Sweet, I just checked one thing off my to-do list too.
Awesome, thank you so much.
No problem. All right, so when I look at your plans this next week, this is the follow-up. I'm gonna be looking for this ratio. All right, so it's the, 7.5 minutes opening routine. Is it feasible? And then 12 minutes of I&M. It's the big thing.
Perfect.
Thanks, Mary. And I'm gonna send you an action step through Whetstone. It's like our actual electronic platform I use for coaching and stuff like that, just so you get an electronic version of your action set too, but you have it on the paper. And here's your binder to keep all your coaching stuff.
Thank you so much.
You're the best. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Doing good stuff. I'm excited about our kids actually learning the grammar for real.
I'm excited.
And you are smart about chunking it.
I appreciate it.
I forgot I even had this on.
This is the first time